Dean Whyte, Glenn McCrory, welcome to the Fight Bloods. Good morning, fellas. We're doing it the other way around, Dean. It's usually in the evening, but today it's a fresh start to the day. How are we, boys?
Yeah, I'm very good.
Just about okay.
If you look out my window now, it is a total blizzard.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the northeast of England. It's like Siberia up here.
It's not too different where I am. What's it like where you are, Dean?
I'm not gonna lie, I even looked outside. I've literally rocked up, had a coffee, brushed my teeth, and then.
Is it a bit too early for you, Dean?
Do you know what? For some reason, last night I didn't get to sleep till late. I don't know. Right. Normally, I've been getting up quite early, but last night I went to sleep like late. I think I was just watching too much TV or something, and then I went to sleep about 3-4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Really? Gee, I was in bed at about 10 p.m. Went to bed about 10 p.m. I was awake at 2 o'clock. I was downstairs at 4:30 having a cup of coffee, getting ready to go training.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. You're living it again. You live in.
Yeah, I'm doing it again. Yeah.
Speak about that in a moment. I had a late night as well, you know. I'm watching just started watching Money Heist on Netflix. Have you seen it?
Oh,
What's
brilliant.
it called?
Money Heist.
No.
That's great. Listen, that's one of the best. That's one of the best shows on there.
Money Heist.
Money Heist.
Money Heist. All right. Is it really? I've never even heard of it.
It's a Spanish one, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Oh, very good.
Netflix aside, though. Netflix aside, Glenn, you just touched on it there. You're back in training camp. Are you?
Do you know? I mean, I must say, it's great to be training, as crazy as it is after retiring 27 years ago. So it's kind of surreal to be happening, but it's very, very difficult, as you've just seen out my window. You know, it's a blizzard, and to be honest, I mean, the weather's changing. I think it's climate change, and I think the fact we haven't got airplanes in the sky. But we've had snow on the ground in some form or another, or in the trees, or for weeks, and it's a real winter. And I can't remember winters like this since I was a kid. So it makes it difficult because facilities are closed. You know, I mean, it's as hard as it possibly can be. I'm from Newcastle. I normally train in a gym in Baker called O'Toole's. Train kids. You know, I train other people. I've never trained myself boxing for 27 years. And everything's everywhere shut. You're everywhere shut. So, you know, me and my son are having to make do. It's like Rocky IV in Siberia. It's me and him pulling logs about, and
I was just going to say, make sure good montage.
Yeah, old school.
You're chopping the trees. No,
yeah, cutting trees down. Don't tell the farmer though, because he doesn't know.
Yeah, no, it makes for a nice montage. Do you say your son then? Are you training with your son?
My son, yeah, my eldest boy's 30. My youngest boy's 6. My eldest boy's 30, and yeah, it's you know, it's great because I think at this stage in my life, long time after I ever thought I would ever, you know, be back in the ring, to train with my boy who never saw me. You know, I retired very young, you know, because I was just disgusted with the business of boxing, and to have my son there is great because he missed it all, you know, and he's reveling in it, and you know, he's been around boxing his whole life, so he knows what he's doing, so he's getting into the training, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I wish I had him training me 30 years ago. I'd won a lot more.
I don't think he'd have been able to train you very well.
No, he wouldn't have. He was one.
Just before we go into what's coming, Glenn, what made you walk away from boxing? Because you just said then it disgusted you. Just what was it that disgusted you?
Well, to give you a quick example, I signed off the door live on ITV boxing when I won the world title. So I was claiming dole the week before I won the world title, and I literally signed off. That was my message in the boxing ring, live on ITV. The week before, their next fight was Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns the following week in Las Vegas, and then went Stanley the week before, and I'm signing off the dole. So I had terrible treatment, you know, badly matched when I was a 19-year-old fighting heavyweights when I was only a light heavy. you know, and I was just dragged through the mill. You know, I went to the boxing board of control to show them that, you know, I was getting ripped off, and I had all the evidence, everything, and they did nothing. You know, so I was absolutely disgusted with, you know, and then, you know, I got for my second defense, the same people that were looking after my challenger, you know, he became #1 challenger. They brought the fight forward, knowing I couldn't make the weight, so basically just took the title off me. And then my manager left the country with my purse. So 25 years of age, totally disgusted with. I retired. You know, they took my belt, they took my money, they took everything, and it was horrendous. And what made it worse was I got a tax bill and I had to come back. And the only way I get any money was having to fight Lennox Lewis, who was British, Commonwealth, European champion. And you know, and in my, you know, when I was training for the world title, I was really up for fighting. I would love to fight Lennox, but you know, to fight him when you're just in it for the money and all that. And I was only 26 or something, 27. It was awful. You know, it was, you know, I was a sacrificial lamb, you know, just to survive. So I retired very early, and I never got to my full potential, never got to my prime. You know, nobody ever saw Glenn McCrory at his best. So luckily, I got enlisted with Sky Sports straight away for their very first fight after I'd won the world title. So that was a great substitute. And that took my mind off fighting again. So I purposely never went in a gym to train myself. I've never hit a punch bag in 3 decades. So so it's a massive, you know. And then how this has come about, it's something I would never have ever thought about, never ever have contemplated it. But the way it's kind of, you know, making a comeback, I could have made a comeback, you know, any time in the last 27 years. But then the format and what it is, and the fact that, you know, Roy Jones Jr. called me out for a fight is amazing. It's kind of give me the hunger back, you know, because all those years I had to turn my back on what I loved and who I was, because, you know, it was, you know, I'd just been used and abused and made no money. So so it was very tough, Chris. It was a very, very tough career. Through all that, you know, I didn't have a professional trainer. I trained in above a fruit shop with 1 punch bag, and yet I won the British, Commonwealth, and world title. And nobody knows them stories. Nobody knows how tough it was doing it alone. But I still managed to win British, Commonwealth, and world championships on my own. So, you know, my biggest regret is I never got to achieve the things I should have really achieved. Winning the world title was amazing, and to be the first world champion ever in the northeast of England, you know, that was a major thing for this area, because it's so difficult doing it up here because we don't have the facilities, and we don't have the TV, and we don't have the promoters, and we don't have the trainers and all that sort of thing. So so that was a massive achievement for me to do that. But there's still an awful lot of regrets of what could have been. You know, it would have been nice to make some proper money. It would have been nice to have a legacy. It would have been nice to go in with some of the big names. But you know, it was by the by. I was just enjoying myself on Sky Sports, sitting ringside watching the greatest fights of all time, which wasn't bad, to be honest.
Yeah, when you put it like that, Dean, can you? I just want to bring you in for Dean, because like what Glenn's saying there about management, you know, selling him short and everything else, it's crazy. But I mean, boxing is boxing. There's always going to be bad guys in it, I guess. What have you ever seen fighters get ripped off? Maybe not to that same extent, but have you seen fighters who have been completely sold up the river?
Hold on.
I think it happens. Sorry, Dean. I think it happens to a lot of fighters in a certain extent, because if you think where fighters come from, we come, normally families with not a lot, with not a lot of money and that sort of stuff. And, I had, very little education, which was my fault, because I hated school and I wouldn't go. So, because my expectation was I was going to go down the, it was that era when you went down the mines or the shipyards or that sort of thing, steelworks in my case. And, so there was no future. So education meant not, but so many fighters just haven't got that education to look after themselves properly. So they really have to depend on trusting somebody. And, like human nature, how many times we've seen, even in boxing, even with people who took off their own family, it happens. It just happens,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I did, like, before Old Time, I've heard of a lot of stuff, when you watch like old time movies or you watch old time documentaries, you talk about Don King with Mike Tyson. He had a lot of issues there. Even coming forward, there's fighters that was with Frank Warren, fought for a world title, and his manager paid him some peanuts, took most of them. It was crazy. I think it was like, you got like 100 and something K or something for a world title fight, and ended up getting like 10 or 15K out of it. That's what they told him, his personal. And that was recently. That was in the last 4 or 5 years. About 4 years, I'd say. I think that fight was. So, it's kind of.
I'll tell you this, Dean. I wish I had Frank Warren looking after me, because Frank's made an awful lot of people very rich as well, And unfortunately, I was in the even worse thing of having the likes of Mickey Duff and Frank Warren against me, because I had cruiserweights. They had cruiserweights, in the division with me. So, I would love to have gotten a British title, but with politics, I had to give mine up to hang in there to get my world title fight. So there was lots of things that were unhappy. But it got, as I say, it's. I don't think often it's people actually, going out to cheat people. It's the fact that boxers are a little bit ignorant in business sense, a little ignorant in life terms in a lot of ways. And, we pay money to trust fighters, to trust managers, sorry. You pay that, that's they're getting 25%. So you put it in their hands, and it's very easy, it's very easy them to get, relaxed about payments and take too much and that sort of stuff. So it's very much a human nature thing. It's not just boxing. It's in every walk of life.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's something. I think. Well, I hope we are starting to see the tide kind of turn, because now, with social media and with the sport, with definitely, the world, yeah. There's more people like yourself. There's more boxers who are just a little bit wiser to it, because they've heard stories, because they've heard the good tales and the bad tales, and there's more ways of telling that story now. You've got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
definitely.
blah 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 blah.
And you can let people know. Back in the day, you just whatever happened behind closed doors and the manager's office or whatever, you just, that was your business, and you didn't tell anybody. And if and you always wanted to appear, if you were a champion, you didn't broadcast, you were sneaking down the dole queue, you kept that hidden, because obviously you wanted people to think you were a success, and you might have a belt, but if you've got no money, you're not a success, so you're always trying to, you're trying to do the opposite and say, oh, I'm doing well, I've got this, I've got that, when really you're struggling. But with social media, you can let people know, can't you? You can get it out there. You can get the word out there that, what happened, or what you got paid, or, what the situation was. And then, when it's in the world domain, it's less likely to happen.
So there was some dark days back then, but the future is looking fairly bright, Glenn, because you mentioned Roy Jones Jr. there, and if anyone's going to put the fire back in your belly, it's if anything's going to put the fire back in your belly, it's a call out from Roy Jones.
Absolutely. that is the thing. It was on Christmas Eve. He could have had a white beard and a red hat. At first I was thinking, do you want to do, is this for real? Is this a joke? Do you want to do this? And then I was like, you know what? this will be brilliant. This will just get. I was in, you know, I've suffered from depression for many years. You know, the death of my younger brother, and not just the death, his life, which was really difficult with a terminal illness. So, you know, but you got by because you had lots of work on and lots of good times, and you'd be off to Vegas and New York, and you'd be doing the fights in London, and you know, it kept me going and kept my head above water and just kept me wanting to live. And then all of a sudden, the last 12 months with the pandemic and no work, nothing to look forward to, you know, a split with my partner, you know, and the kids a year ago. So you're alone. You know, you had to move house, and everything was just getting darker and darker. And then, you know, what do? You know, typical Geordie boy, you just hit the bottle, don't you? You just end up drinking, then you end up drinking some more, and then you end up drinking some more. So it was getting very dark for me. Like, I mean, really, you know, to the point where, you know, at the end of the year, I had to actually get help. You know, I had to get help from the mental health. I'm currently getting treatment, also from alcohol services, because, you know, for me, my life was over, and it was just a case of, you know, just drink yourself to out the park. So that's helped me so much, and it feels like. And then the Roy Jones thing come up, and it was like, whoa, you know, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Here's your chance. Here's your chance to make amends. Here's your chance to prove what you can do. 27 years of never been in a gym. You know, can I get in shape? You know, can I get in shape? You know, I haven't done anything. Can I get my boxing back again? Can I get any sort of timing? Can I, you know, you're going to go in with one of the greatest, if not the greatest fighter that has ever lived. And he only retired in 2018. You know, I mean, and he's just come off a fight with Mike Tyson where, you know, they did great. The two of them whipped themselves into shape and put on a fight. So that's really got me going. That's really got the juices flowing. And it's great. Tough Boxing have come up, you know, a new outfit, you know, who I've worked for. They've come up and said they'll put the fight on. They've got good relations with Roy Jones. So it's all looking. Simon Whittle is sorting it out. He's a new promoter. He's got lots of ideas, lots of energy, lots of enthusiasm, and he's trying to put this together. So it's great. And you know what? I'm getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, feeling fresh, going out running in snow drifts and throwing logs about and chopping down farmers' trees that they don't know. Shouldn't say that. I'm not really. Just in case. I'm not saying, Mike, you been cut my trees down? No, I haven't cut.
Yeah, knock on the door.
But it's great. It's really, it's great. And, you know, you can probably tell, you know, if you've seen anything on the internet from last year, you've probably seen the difference in my, you know, just in my demeanor. You know, I just feel so much better, so much fresher, so much fitter, and I'm raring to go. And you know what? All that anger and all that resentment I've had over the last 27 years, I'm ready to kick somebody's butt.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to you about Tough. We'll go down that route in a couple of moments, but just on this Legends exhibition trail, because there's names going out everywhere now. You know, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, they started something. We spoke about it a few times, didn't we, Dean, about who was going to win? Because Tyson, you know, he still has that kind of head movement, ferocious kind of look about him, whereas Roy, like you say, was boxing only just a couple of years ago in a professional ring. So who was going to win that one? Then you start seeing other names coming out. Evander Holyfield's being thrown around. Then Glenn McCrory's there. You were nearly in with Evander.
I know. It would come. You know, as I say, I never contemplated any of that. And I was kind of wary about, you know, what the fight was going to be like, whether they'd embarrass themselves or whatever. Because I was with Tyson in his heyday. You know, I was part of Team Tyson for Terrell Biggs, Larry Holmes. You know, they wanted me for the Spinks fight, so I was with Tyson in them days, and he was awesome. So I wanted, you know, I didn't want to see him, you know, as a friend. I didn't want to see him show himself up. Jones is a legend, a great, a GOAT. So, I was very interested. Then I got the call up very late to do that show, and I was sitting there, and Lennox came on, and Lennox was talking about getting in the ring and saying, "Come on, Glenn, let's me and you." That was the first time was bad enough. With Big Lennox, and I don't want to go there. But then I got talking to Evander Holyfield, who he texts me or rings me now and again, and he said, "What do you think of it?" And he said, "Call me out." And I'm like, "What?" I thought it was a joke. I did. So I did. I said to a press guy that he'd said, he wanted to fight. Anyhow, we got some good press, and it kind of got put to bed when people got in touch with him saying he wanted, or his people saying he wanted $1 million even to start negotiations and all this sort of stuff. So that kind of went away, and and I thought that was a bit of a giggle. And then Roy Jones come up, and I still thought it was a bit of a joke. But these names are being thrown around, and you know what? I mean, I never got to be at my best. I never got to be in with them big names. I fought Lennox, as I said, to pay the tax man, but it's almost like a second chance. And yes, we're all, it's exhibition. It's a Legends exhibition thing, but all of a sudden my name's been mentioned with the greatest names of all time, which in itself is very, very special. Just to be mentioned alongside Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Roy Jones is great. So it's really given me the initiative to, as I say, it's like a second chance to prove myself all these years later. What I want to do is go in there and be the best I can possibly be and make people think, wow, how good could he have been? He was finished at 27. What if he was 29, 30, 31, 32 when he was at his physical prime? How good could he be? I don't know, because Roy Jones might hit me on the chin and knock me spark out. First time I get hit, I haven't been hit in the head for a long time either.
It's crazy. Dean, what do you make of these exhibitions? I mean, I'll be honest, I am for them. There was skepticism when you start hearing this.
Same here.
What do you reckon, Dean? I'm warming to it.
Obviously, if you're a fan of some of the names you've mentioned, the 4 names you mentioned, it's obviously good, for people to see them moving around now, because obviously there's people that are boxing fans now that only dreamed of having this opportunity to see the names he's mentioned still fighting. Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson was fighting up to a point, but there's new fans in boxing. Matchroom and Eddie Hearn have brought new blood and new impetus to the demographic of people that are in the sport now. You know what I mean? So I mean, some people are excited. That Tyson and Jones fight, there was a lot of different people talking about that fight. You know what I mean? Some, loads. It was on, like you said, that social media, loads of different platforms that before you wouldn't really see them talking about boxing as much. Anthony Joshua has brought a lot of trajectory into it. Dylan's brought, you know what I mean? So now, when you start talking about that, the stuff, what's going on, people are more like, there's a lot of intriguement, you know what I mean? They're saying, you're fighting, some people obviously know of Glenn McCrory, if you're a hardcore boxing fan. So yeah, again, it's intriguing. You're fighting Roy Jones. So people are going to think, who's this guy from Newcastle?
They'll think that the commentator, they've got Roy Jones Jr. is fighting the commentator. This generation. It's
true. That's what they probably might. Not knowing that you're a champion, but it's all good. Obviously, you ain't boxed for a long time. Hopefully, your chin holds up to the task. When you go in old school, you see I used to spar all the time with Dillian back in the days, and then I kind of like yourself, after I just came up that side, and then I went to more of a coaching, and I sparred, I started sparring a couple of times after, but you get what's the word? Gun shy, they call it a little bit, out for a while. Until you start getting bashed on the chin regular again, then it becomes normal. But Normally when you get hit, you go, okay, that's not bad. Yeah, bang again. All right, well,
Yeah.
I haven't missed this. you know what I mean?
the good thing for me, Dean and Chris, is the surprising thing is when I went back in the gym just over the holidays for the first time and got bandaged up and got in the ring and start doing it. It was in my head. I was 27 because the good thing is I never had a career. I finished, my last fight was a world title fight in Russia where I lost on points to Al Cole. I had 3 weeks to get ready for that fight, last minute thing, and I fought for the world title, lost on points. I had to beat Cole. We banged heads. He hit me in the nose, and I had to take a couple of steps. And that's the only reason the referee didn't stop and give me a break. He carried on. But so that was that fight. But my heart wasn't even in it. I just took that fight. So I finished at the very pinnacle. I finished as at world level at 27. So in my head, I've never had those beatings. I've never had going on to 30, 35. Roy Jones was still fighting like 40s. It's still in tough fights against like top rank Russians and all that sort of stuff. So he's had that long career where I didn't. I finished. So my mind, in my head, in my boxing brain, it's still 27. It's still fresh. I haven't had them hidings. So I'm hoping that's. Well, I feel that's going to be great for me because I am fresh. You saw Tyson going on way too long, and you've got your Danny Williams and that beating them up into submission late on in his career. I'm still very, very fresh in that regard. So so I'm hoping that's going to work in my favor an awful lot.
When you hear these exhibition rules, especially with Tyson Jones, when it first came out, no knockouts, and some people said that's not the case. We are allowed.
Yeah.
What's your understanding getting in with Roy? Are you going in to move around, or are you?
No.
I hate to say
I couldn't even contemplate. The word exhibition is to make it legal. I think that it's because of our age. I'm 56. Roy's 50 or something. So it's called an exhibition, but they had to change the rules because I've knocked lots of people out in sparring because when you're sparring, you're still throwing shots. You've got a head guard on, you've got the big gloves. But if you hit somebody properly, they're gonna go. And likewise in an exhibition, you can't go in there. I can't go in with somebody as unbelievable as Roy Jones thinking it's an exhibition after 27 years. Do you know what I mean? I've got to go in there thinking this for me is my next world title fight. This is 24, and then now at 56 is my next. This is probably the last fight I'll ever have in my life. I'm going to be the best Glenn McCrory I can possibly be at my age. I have to do that. Otherwise, it's hard getting out of bed. Never mind getting in the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning or going out running at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, mentally, you've just got to prepare for it to be the best you can possibly be. And I will. And, Roy's going to have to come knowing that, if I get the chance, I'm going to nail him to the floor. I like him. He's a good guy. He's nice, polite, lovely guy, great fighter. But, this is business. And because you know what? The crazy thing is, I really, really want Mike Tyson. I really want to fight Mike Tyson because, I worked for him. And people did, when I was sparring with him, way back, we were 21-year-olds and he was knocking everybody to smithereens. And people went over there. And I don't think anybody believed I sparred with him. I think they just thought I went over there, for some Atlantic City candy rock. I don't think anybody actually really thought I sparred with him. And then Steve Lott released the tapes a couple of years ago on YouTube, and everybody saw me like going toe to toe with a prime Mike Tyson. And people and all of a sudden I got this new respect of everybody saying, "This is the guy that went 96 rounds with Mike Tyson," and he's heyday. This is forget about my world title, 96 rounds with Mike Tyson. So so that would be that would be, you know, and he's younger than me. He's a year so younger than me. So that would be the ultimate. But I can't at this stage, you know, I can't look past Roy Jones Jr. I can't look past Roy Jones Jr. So it's Roy first, and then it's Mike Tyson.
Yeah, man, no doubt, man.
That's
I love it. You know what I mean? Eight 2-minute rounds. At this stage. That's really something to get excited about. It's something to aim for. It would. You know what? Can you imagine? You know, for me, winning the world title and signing off the dole to fighting Mike Tyson and Roy Jones and making some proper money at 56. To say, wow.
Brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's great, you know what I mean? Because as you say, people it interests people. And why not? Do you know what? You just saw the biggest legend, the biggest thing that's been done over the last year and for many, many years is a 100-year-old man walking laps of his garden. And you know what? He embarrassed and showed us all the way forward. And you know what happened last week? A 70-year-old man rode single-handedly across the Atlantic. Now, that's the thing of heroes. That's the thing of legend. 70, 100. You know, so these kids, they need to learn off the older people. You know, don't dismiss them and say, oh, you know, well, they're just old guys. You know, this is the thing of legend that people are doing. And me and Roy, you know, that's a big thing to get back in the ring at our age and show the kids the way, show them what we can do and what we were made of.
It's really really good way of putting it. I just quickly want to touch on, you mentioned them earlier, Tough. These new guys on the scene. You and I spoke about Tough in the past because their name pops up on a WBC press release involving Canelo. So clearly they mean business. Obviously, Jack Fletcher put us in touch. Glenn, they're doing well on social. What's your involvement with the setup there?
You know, I presented. I kind of fronted their last show, which was like a semi-professional show. They're just getting into it. The show, I must say, in September with Ty Mitchell was like a prize fighter show. Ty Mitchell won it. It was done fantastically well. It was as good a show as I've been to. They did it. You know, there was no crowd there, but they had a video wall with, you know, Roy Jones was on there. WBC. Yeah. Well, he was on. Everybody was on there. You know, there's about 5 or 6 world champions on there. And we were talking to them. They did the fight, and it was done. You know, everybody was COVID. Everybody was COVID tested going in. There was sanitizing. You know, they've got all the best. You know, Simon Whittle's got all. You know, his other business is in that regard with the sanitization of the COVID. So it was done tremendously well, and I was very, very impressed. You couldn't fault it. So it was great. And then this has come up. You know, they've got plans for other things in the future, but you know, the first thing that's come up is Roy Jones with them, and it's kind of ironic that Roy was there, I was there, and it's a tough show. And what I like about it is, you know, they haven't got the cynicism. They haven't got that you get in the fight game after many, many years. You know, you become cynical about everything. You know, because boxing it's a tough sport, and there's tough business deals that happen. And there's, you know, they haven't got that. You know, Simon comes in with a whole new outlook, a very refreshing outlook. And I think that's what you need for this sort of thing, because this is here to stay. People, you know, you see in bloggers making more money than top world champions, because entertainment's changing, you know, and you've got to change with it. You know, boxing can't be stuck in its old ways and just think, you know, it'll survive. It won't. You know, there's so much more competition around, so it has to develop, and it has to you know, do different things, and this is one of those things. So I think it's a great idea. I know Tough are going to get into boxing on a you know, proper basis, you know, on a professional basis, you know, with the boxing motor control and all that in time. That's all going to happen. But at the minute, this is a great way of jumping from sort of zero to hero for Tough, isn't it? You know, it's a great way from coming from nothing to all of a sudden major names put on their platform. So I'm expecting great things from Tough, and Roy Jones is going to work with them in the States. I'm going to work with them over here. I'm going to be part of the team over here, and it's a great way to kick it all off with me and Roy. Me and Roy getting together, putting on a show, and then being the best of pals and working together.
Once you've nailed him to the campus.
If he's speaking to me then.
Well, listen, it's been really interesting. Dean, I don't know if there's anything you want to throw in there. If you want to add anything.
Like you said, it's been interesting, and it would be interesting once you obviously get in there, get past Roy, and then if you could get that Tyson fight, that would be something for real.
Wouldn't it just? You know what? Life after these very, very dark times, which they have been for all of us, it's not just me that's been depressed. I speak to the people that I'm talking to about depression on the phone. They're struggling as well. So this is, and I think what we need, we need some brightness to come out of all this, don't we? We need some entertainment, and I think we're going to be clamoring. We're going to be clamoring to see entertainment, to see good fights, and one of the big things we want to see is AJ and Fury, isn't it? We want to see the heavyweight championship of the world being decided by two Brits. So, I think when we come out of lockdown, there's gonna be so much to look forward to. I want to try and inspire people as I've been inspired by people, and I think together, we can come out of it stronger and better than we were before.
Of course, well, it's a perfect way to sign off. And look at that, we've still got the rest of the day ahead of us. It's not time to turn to bed.
The sun's come out, the sun's come out. The sun's come out, the snow's stopped. It's a beautiful day.
You better get out and train then.
I've done it. I've done my 6 o'clock this morning. I was out.
Brilliant, Glenn. Thanks
again,
Chris, Dean, great to talk to you.
All right, no worries.
Take care. God bless.